We got Lenny DiNardo in the house. Roll the intro. All right, we got our host, Lesley, Italy J, and our special guest, Lenny DiNardo. How's it going, everyone? All right.
Wonderful. How you doing, Lenny?
I'm doing well. That was a great intro.
Thank
That was
you, sir.
outstanding. I don't think I've ever had one like that before. Well, that's great. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Hey, got to Paisan, got to represent Paisan.
All right. I love it. Good
He gets
start.
real sick of his Irish coworker here.
Well, I'm both. I'm Irish and Italian. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm little German, but
Okay.
mostly Italian.
There you go.
I'm all Irish. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so Lenny and I just met. For anybody who doesn't know that, we just met down at Fantasy Camp. What is that? 2 weeks ago now?
Has it been 2 weeks already? Yeah. I guess. Yeah, we're midway through the second week. I guess.
Yeah, midway through the second week. So tell us a little bit about Fantasy Camp, because I think a lot of people have no idea that it even exists.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So a lot of people sign up for Fantasy Camp thinking that it's going to be like a one and done. I'm going to do this 1 year. Wouldn't it be cool if I did this for 1 year? And then 10, 15, 20 years later, they're still doing it, right? I can't tell you how many people I've run into that. I've been doing it for 10 years. And there are guys that have been doing it for, I think the longest is maybe 20 something years. You have to be at least 30. And we've got guys ranging into their upper 80s that have been coming back year after year. They have so much fun. Let's see, we play doubleheaders during the day. You're coached by former Red Sox players, players ranging from, let's see, we've got guys that I think we're in the 60s all the way up until the 2000 eras. I think Devin Marrero was the youngest guy, the newest addition. But yeah, it's a blast. We've got casino night one night. There's karaoke night, which is also a blast. Louis Tiant cigar night, and may he rest in peace. He wasn't there for that this year, but every year we still have a Louis Tiant cigar night where we've got cigars being rolled right there. And it's a good time. It's a good time. The players, the former players, the pros have just as much fun as the campers that come in year after year. It's really a reunion of sorts for us. So we really enjoy seeing guys that we not only played with, played against, and different generations of Red Sox ball players that we've befriended as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's super fun.
Wow.
I just went down to watch some ball and hang out with a few people that I already knew down there, and it was so much fun just to watch like how into it these players are. The fans that come down for their fantasy camp. It is a blast to watch.
Yeah,
honestly.
and it's all levels, really. You don't think if you want to sign up, you have to be an all-star, right? No. There are people that haven't swung a bat since Little League, literally, and there are other guys that play in a men's league every weekend, and
there was a couple
everything in between
that went. I mean, like you saw them walk up, and you're going, "Oh, this is at least a double, right?" Like you're just watching it happen. It was a lot of fun, and I got recruited to play next year, so I guess I'll see you there.
Perfect.
You got to film that.
You let it slip
Lesley's
one time.
We got to see what Lesley's got.
One time I say to someone, I can hit a fastball at 90, and they're like, oh, well, you should come play next year.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that. Yeah. But
Oh
you're
my
gonna
I'll
God.
take a video of it. It'll be fun.
you're gonna have so much fun, as you know.
I'm doing girls camp for sure.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not dealing with the boys. Yeah.
Let,
It was just a blast.
Lenny, your transition from being a ball player to Nesson being the 8th-year analyst now, was that a tough transition for you, or was that just like a walk in the park?
I wouldn't say it was a walk in the park. So Tom Caron was the MC at a Bo Sox Club meeting, and I was the special guest, I guess. And afterwards, he said, "You know what? Have you ever thought about going on TV?" And at that point, I never crossed my mind. It wasn't an option.
Gotcha.
But I'm not one to turn things down. I said, "Hey, if that door opens, I'll absolutely at least put my foot in the door and see what happens." And he said, "All right, we'll come in and we'll do a little test run. We'll basically go through a segment like we would on our normal show. We'll talk about a
Nice.
certain play." And it happened to be the Pedroia play where he runs into right field. I think they're in Texas at the time. Moreland's at first base, and he makes this incredible diving play in right field, turns around, spins around, and throws a guy out of first base.
Mhm.
It's a pretty iconic play. And we talked about that, like a mock live air segment. And they said, "All right, well, can you start on this day?" And the day that I actually started was the day that Rafael Devers got called up to the big leagues in 2017. So my
That's
first day, yeah,
that's a
my
good
first day
one.
was his first day. So I'm looking at his career, I'm looking at my career, and they're kind of just different paychecks, but they're the same length of time. Same length of time. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, a little bit.
but yeah, I mean, back in 2017 and 18, I've looked at footage and I can see a pretty big difference as far as being comfortable, being confident. The preparation has been consistent, but just having a little bit more camera time after 8 years, you know what's going to happen typically, and you know the cadence,
Mm-hmm.
and you know who you're working with, and it just flows a little bit easier for me. I'm not sure if it shows too much to the audience watching on TV, but I'm a lot more comfortable in the past couple of years than I was when I first started, for sure.
I can tell you that even after a loss, and I get TC and Lenny after a game, it's just it makes it sting just a little bit less,
Oh, I
especially
appreciate that.
after the last half of last season. I was like, oh, good, at least Lenny and TC are on. Okay, good.
We'll
But
put a
yeah,
bow
Yeah,
on
I
it.
like
But
it too.
with that said, we try to tell the truth, and we don't want to, we don't want to
you're
put lipstick on a pig. To be honest,
Right.
we
You don't
want to call
sugarcoat
it
it.
what it is.
Right. You
If
don't
it was a
sugarcoat
terrible
it.
game,
Yeah.
we want to go out and do our job and say that.
but he does it in such a nice way that it doesn't come across as, they really just blew the game kind of scenario. Like you
Yeah,
do it, you
yeah,
guys both do it in such a nice way that it's like the best way to
yeah.
get an insult on this.
And it's tough sometimes. It's tough sometimes because
Yeah.
we put so much, we invest so much time and energy into what we do, and that involves investing time and energy in the club.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we want to believe in the ball club and we want them to succeed. And we have our predictions in the preseason of what we feel like they should do. And you know, in certain parts of the 162 game schedule, they're going to bottom out. They're going to come back up, and you just
Right.
hope at the end of the year they're a playoff caliber team. And when they're not, and you're talking about a team that you just know is not going to make it, it's difficult.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
difficult talking about it on air because
Like
what do
every
you do?
night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been like that for the past couple years.
Yeah, it
And
has been.
yeah. So hopefully that turns around this year. I'm more confident now than I have been in the past 3 or 4 years, to be
Oh,
honest.
good. Okay, good.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
go ahead. Go ahead. You wanted to say something, so go ahead.
So, from everything that's been going on, like addressing the players that they addressed in the off season, going into spring training, all the rookie preparation that's coming up for this camp, do you think the Red Sox did enough, or do you think they still need to add a bat and maybe another pitcher? Do you think Campbell and Anthony and Meyer are ready? What are you thinking, Lenny?
I think need isn't necessarily the right word. I feel like we definitely want that collectively. Red Sox Nation wants a right-handed bat, an Arenado or Bregman at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I
if you
would say
don't get,
need.
yeah, I mean, and even if you don't get those guys, I mean, even a Justin Turner, right?
Yeah, bring him back.
JT
Yeah.
would be amazing to have back.
Yeah, bring him
that would
back.
be
Some
awesome.
right-handed bat, some semblance of a right-handed bat that would help balance out the lineup. And obviously, if you got an Arenado or a Bregman, one of those guys, you're shoring
Yeah.
up your defense. You're
The
sure
big buzz.
defense.
Yeah.
And and who knows? They might not want to sign one of those guys to a long-term deal or even bring him in, because who knows what's going to happen after next offseason with
Right.
Vladdy Jr. You get a guy like Vladdy Jr.
Facts.
next year. You want to keep that door open. You sign a guy to a 3-4 year deal or whatever
Yeah.
they want. That kind of puts a damper on that. And Christian Campbell is going to come up. He's a guy that can play all over the infield. He's a guy that they could pull in from the farm system that, they want him to go out and succeed. And he's only going to succeed if he gets reps. Who knows where those reps are going to be, but he needs the ABs and he needs the reps with the glove.
Yeah, the reps are so
Yeah.
critical, and I wish like everybody understood that. My question with Arenado and or Bregman, because either one would be fine. I mean, I'm kind of pulling for Breg, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Amen. Amen.
Where are you putting him, and who are you moving?
Well, I mean, ideally, in an ideal situation, well, let's preface this with saying that from what I'm hearing, Yoshida's going to be on the DL or the IL at the beginning of the season. I'm hearing that,
Oh.
that's what I've heard. He's going to be on I don't think he's going to break with the club as far as being healthy. He had surgery, right? So,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So if you're missing that DH factor, then you could put Devers at DH. You could keep Costas at first. You could have one of those two new additions at third base. And if you think about the defense, you're talking about numbers wise, this is the worst defensive infield
Exactly.
in the past 2 at least seasons. So if you shore up third base, if you have a healthy Story at shortstop,
Right.
we'll see at second base, right? We're going to see who the option is. You'd like to see someone consistent there. Defensively in the outfield, though, you're talking, you got a Gold Glove right fielder. You've got Duran and Rafaela. These are young ball players that have already made that transition from maybe not succeeding at first and then kind of turning out of it and coming and becoming a better ball player from it, right? That's what the minor leagues are for. That's what the reps we're talking about, the big league level, are for. You have to learn how to fail and come out of that. And Duran's a prime example. Duran's a guy that a couple years ago was failing, had some trouble talking to the media, just wasn't himself. And now that he's got the confidence to go out there, because Cora said, "Listen, you're going to play every day. We're putting our faith in you out there." Showing confidence in a player like that, allowing him to go out there, helped him go out and be himself. So you're seeing a young outfield that has proven that they're really, really great out there. They're above average, to say the
outfield,
least.
For sure. I mean, I don't know that we can count on. I mean, I call him JD, but Duran having such a spectacular repeat of last season, but I still think he's going to be phenomenal.
No, when it comes to Duran
as well,
yeah, it's a little different with him though right now. Yeah.
So when you talk about Duran, the factor, in my opinion, the factor that he brings to the club is something that you have a hard time defending, and that's speed. What are you gonna do differently? When he hits the ball in the gap and it touches green, that's probably going to be a double.
Right.
Yes.
Probably going to be a double. You can't defend that because his speed is only his speed allows him to do that.
Right.
And the stolen base factor too. I want him to go out and continue. I feel like just kind of leveled off at the end of the season as far as stolen bases as a club. But I want him to go out there and continue to try to be aggressive on the base pass. And if he does get a single, turn that thing into a double. Turn it into a double. Get on second base as soon as possible. And that gets in pitchers' heads. They start to not think about throwing strikes as often. They start thinking about the base runners. And then what happens? They leave one over the middle to a 3-4 hole hitter. And then boom, he's either moved over to third base or he's driven in. So and defensively, again, speed's going to allow him to take, to better routes to balls, quicker, straighter lines to balls. He's going to make the catches. So I feel like, I don't want to. I want to say he's not immune to being a flash in the pan, or just that guy. I feel like he's got it in him to be that guy consistently for a long time.
Oh yeah, I still think he's going to be phenomenal.
Agreed.
I just don't know that it's going to be maybe to the actual level of last year.
Gotcha.
I did want to touch on this because I heard this when I was down at camp, and there were some of the minor league guys, in the cages, that they were all about the velocity. But then, I don't know if I can say that. There was another player who we've already talked about. I don't know if I'm supposed to say he was a camp. So, and he was able to hit the ball in all sorts of manner that would just allow him to maybe get on base and not be so worried about velocity, which I think has gone to a not helpful level, honestly. Like, I don't need you to hit a dinger. I need you to get on base. And I think
Yeah.
we've gone in a
Oh,
different
okay.
direction.
Yeah.
And everybody is so concerned with he can hit a home run. He can hit a home. I don't need you to hit a home run. Though. We're not a home run team.
Yeah.
Right.
Just get on base and you're going to
Get on
win
base.
games. Quit trying to hit out of the park. Because
Yeah.
Fenway
Yeah.
is not the easiest to hit out of anyway.
Yeah.
Just get on base. That's
I
all
mean,
I need you to do.
Fenway Park, if you, whether you're lefty or whether you're righty, if you can use that wall to your advantage, just
Amen.
Yes.
pepper the wall. You're going to get so many doubles. A lot of those are going to turn into home runs. And Jim Rice, I work with him all the time, and he says it best: doubles turn into home runs. Line drives turn into home runs. So if you just think
Yes.
about a line drive
In the
approach,
gaps too,
in the
exactly.
gaps,
With
yeah,
Durant's
Yeah.
speed, he could go to third easily. Hit in the
absolutely.
gap. Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of my point as well. Like, I don't need Duran to hit home runs, which he obviously could do. I just need him to get the base hit, or they could turn into a double easily because he does have that speed that
Yeah.
not every single player has, obviously. So I think that would be, I don't know. I get so discouraged when everybody's like so concerned about their velocity hitting. I'm like, I don't need
Yeah,
to worry
launch
about that right now.
angle, launch
Yeah.
angle, and bat speed, and all that stuff's important, I guess.
You're
But
It
right.
is to a certain point, I suppose.
yeah,
But
look at
Yeah.
Arise. If you guys know Arise, the way he hits the ball, he's
Yes.
got some of
Yeah.
the lowest bat speed in the game right now.
Right.
If not the lowest bat speed in the game, it's extremely low. But the guy's a professional hitter. He's gonna bat. He's gonna probably have the top 3 highest batting average in the league every year. He's incredible to watch. He's good for the game.
Right.
And speaking of good for the game and watchable baseball,
Right.
home runs or strikeouts and nothing in between is not fun to watch. So if we're trying
it's
to
not.
continue,
Yeah.
no, because for every home run, how many strikeouts are you gonna get?
Facts.
It's not good for the game. But you know what is good for the game? When you do get a guy on second base, moving him over,
Mhm.
maybe a sacrifice bunt every now and then. So now you got a runner on third base with one out. What are the fans thinking? Oh, you're telling your kid sitting next to you, runner on third base, less than 2 outs. What's he trying to do? Now he's trying to put the ball in the outfield so he can tag up.
Right.
This is the game that we're not teaching kids,
Yeah.
because all the kids know
Fundamentals.
about right now is they want to see a home run. And if they don't see a home run, it's a
Yeah.
strikeouts. It's flip a coin, 50-50. Let's see what we're going to get this time. Oh, strikeout this time. All right, let's try. What's going to happen next time?
I
Get
mean,
back
I'm not
to
going to say that.
basics. Get back to basics and fundamentals. Got to get back to
Fundamentals.
the
Yeah.
beginning. The beginning
But
stuff.
also,
Strategy.
Mhm.
yeah, and like you were saying, Lenny, I mean, it's like the reps. You have to be able to go in there and do that, because sometimes it is the luck that you hit the dinger out of the park, and it's that part can be fun. I'm not going to lie. Like, I happened to be at Game 7 in '04
Mm.
in New York watching the greatest game of my life, and every time we hit one out of the park, I mean, I was literally crying in Yankee Stadium. It was the best moment of my life. And so that was exciting, but you're not there. You don't even make it that far if it was just all about home runs. Like,
You're right.
it just wasn't going to happen. You had to have the strategy in order to win the game, and it
Yeah.
would have not been as fun to watch. But yeah,
And I don't want to say we, but as a whole, we've taken so much. How do I put this out? I'm just going to say it. We've taken so much out of the game already as it is.
Correct.
mhm.
Exactly.
We've
Exactly.
taken things out of the game that used to make it aggressive and fun and watchable. I mean, for instance, if you look at it like a 1980s something game, if it's a double play ball, the second baseman is going through the bag. He's grabbing
Yeah.
onto the ankles, trying to knock the shortstop over, right? He's breaking up double plays. And yeah, we're trying to save guys' careers. I get that. But how many guys in the 1980s were just destroyed by a runner and stopped
Yeah.
playing? Not very many. This
Yeah.
happened every game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
guess what? When the guy took out a shortstop who's breaking up a double play, the shortstop knew what he was doing, patted him on the butt, said, "All right, nice job. This is part of the game." Right? We don't have that anymore. So we're taking certain things out of the game and we're replacing it with nothing other
Right.
than home runs and strikeouts. And how hard can I throw this ball by this hitter? You know?
Yeah.
When
I mean, I'm
and
still
Exactly.
like and I'm biased, obviously, because I've been a Sox fan since I was 3. But like with the new rules, you wouldn't get the no more at bat. You wouldn't have the whole ritual of the 5 minutes before he ever touched
Yeah.
the
right.
pitch.
You're right. You're right.
And that
Yeah.
was something that made everybody loved No More. Everybody loved him. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know about, I mean, all the fans loved him because
Right.
it was,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
actually broke everyone
Well, what a
as
trade, though. What a trade.
yeah. You know, I will say,
worked out.
I
It
do
worked out.
overall, I do like the time limits. I do like the fact that games are
Yes.
now like 238 over four
Right.
hours. I mean, and I might be a
Right.
little biased as a broadcaster because nobody wants to sit there for 4
Well,
hours.
yeah, for that
Yes,
reason. I don't
exactly.
mind a 5-hour ball
Yes.
game though. Like,
No, I don't. I can't
I
sit
fly
there
in
5
for
hours
this
anymore.
stuff. I like have my 20 game package, so I'm flying like
Yeah.
every other weekend to watch this.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like all the bang.
Yeah.
But
And I, when I'm sitting at home and I'm not broadcasting, because when I'm broadcasting,
Right.
I'm trying to watch every pitch. But when I'm sitting at
Cor-
home
correct,
watching the
yeah.
game, I notice that if I get up in the middle of a game and I go make a sandwich, like I miss a lot now.
yeah,
Like we're in the next inning, but before we're like the next at bat, and it's kind of
Ye-
it's dragging a little bit. Now
yes,
it's more of a pace where I have to pay attention or I'm going to miss something, which I think is good for the game. I think, you know, you have to pay
Yeah.
attention and you're going to miss some action. It's good for the game in a sense where if you want to increase the number of eyes watching the game, especially with the younger generation,
I
you
do.
Right,
have to do
exactly.
something.
I do because if people could just like get into it and realize how much fun this game actually is to watch and
Yeah.
play and be a part of. I will say you're right though, because like I have my seats up in the Aura Club
Mm.
and I always go down to the Sam Adams deck because I like that one better, to go get a drink in the middle of the game. And I've missed, by the time I get clear over there and back, it's a whole at least half an
Yeah.
gone.
You're right.
Gone.
You're right.
So you're like trying to watch it as like you're passing through, like catching the TVs and whatnot, just to make sure you're not missing anything, and like diving in front of people if you hear a big cheer, like what just happened. But
Right,
Sure.
right.
I did a
Yeah.
game. I did a game in the booth. I filled in for Jerry Remy back in 17. He wasn't doing good at the time, and oftentimes that year I'd be coming in to do pre-post, and they would call me and say, "Listen, you're doing color now." And my second game, it was a Toronto series. My second game was 6 hours. It was 19 innings. I think the score was like 4-2, 4-2, 19 innings. I got home at 5 a.m. and I'm
Oh.
like, that's a long baseball game.
That's
Nobody wanted to be there.
a long game. There was an 18 in the, I think it was the World Series. Maybe it was just the ALDS still, or
I think
CS.
it was ALDS is what you're talking about. ALCS, yeah.
The like 19 inning game or 16 or something. And I was so sick. Like I'm home from work because I just started working in the hospital and I caught like everything you could catch in the first week.
Right.
And I'm practically dying. And I'm like, I am not going to bed. I will literally die watching this game because there's no way the best team in baseball is going to screw this up. So
a little kid staring at TV and I'm not taking my eyes off it. I
And
beg
every
my
now and then,
parents to get
every
back
now
on.
and then that's okay. And every now and then it's water cooler talk. Like, did you see the
Right.
length of that game?
yeah,
But when
Right.
like they're averaging 4 hours or averaging 3.5, 3.75 hours.
I mean, I get it.
Right.
I
That's a
really
long
do.
time.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it. Not
Lenny-
everybody can love it like me.
Right.
Yeah. You're
Right.
right.
Lenny, I gotta talk to you about Trevor's story, man.
Okay.
Trevor
Yeah.
Trevor's story, we know what he's doing in Texas is great stuff, what his camp's doing. We all know the injury history. If he is healthy, is he that guy that could take this team far again? Can he be that leader and put that guy on the back of your shoulder and get us over the hump?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
I just need 10 games.
It's night and day as far as what he does to that infield, just his presence in the infield. And I tell you, when you have a defense in the infield that's that bad defensively, numbers wise, as a pitcher, we pitch differently.
Right.
Pitch differently. Instead of pitching to contact, and instead of filling up the zone consistently, we start trying to strike everybody out, which leads to walking more batters, which leads to longer innings, which leads to me only going 4 or 5 innings rather than 6 or 7, which in turn depletes the bullpen because they're throwing too much, too early, and too often. So when you have a defensive shortstop like that who makes everybody around him better, he was making plays when he came back last year that it was night and day. Like other guys weren't getting up the middle like he was. Other guys weren't going left or right like he was. So, offense aside, defensively, he's going to make this team a ton better. And now, if he's healthy and he has an
Right.
offensive production season that's up to his standards, it's going to make this team so much better.
Yeah.
I
You
agree.
mentioned running through your bullpen, and
Mhm.
which was
Right.
definitely a problem last year. I felt like they had a great momentum going pre-All-Star break. And, tip the cap to Andrew Bailey. There's only so much you can do, especially when you don't have the depth necessarily in your bullpen to keep it going. Looking at 2025, do you have a pitcher in mind that could go out there and eat the innings?
As far as mid relief,
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like Cutter Crawford could be that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it was a definite struggle last year because there was a handful of games I was at where they'd put someone in. I'm not going to say who because it's mean, but and you just have an actual moment going, well, I guess we're losing this game. There was just no chance.
I mean, maybe
that he was
Whitlock
gonna come out.
can maybe fill in that.
Yeah,
maybe?
if Whitlock is healthy, you've got Cutter Crawford. I mean, Cutter Crawford, unfortunately for him, who had an outstanding season last year, I feel like
He had a phenomenal season.
he's probably the odd man out because you've got Crochet, you've got Bueller now, you've got Houck, Bayo. They want him to be a starter, obviously, because he's got such a high ceiling. They want him to go out there and have a year where they can propel him in a career.
Right.
But for the starting rotation, I feel like Crawford's just that guy that has to be switching roles. And I was that guy. I started 20 games in Oakland. I had 15 relief appearances the same year, and I just said, "Hey, when do you want me to take the ball? I'll take it." And I was happy to do it. And so for him, it might be a mid relief role. And with his stuff, I feel like he could really succeed in that role. 3 innings every now and then. Or a starter doesn't get it done, maybe
Yeah.
going 4 every now and then. He's got that in the tank. He's got good enough stuff to get through the lineup twice and really help the club fill those innings so the bullpen's not depleted later.
This is just totally off the subject, but now I'm curious.
Nice.
Do you remember your first 3 at bats? Who'd you pitch to the first 3 times?
Oh yeah, Old Yankee Stadium, 2004. I mean, I know the date, April 23rd.
There you go.
Of course you do.
Derek Lowe started. Derek Lowe started. It was a blowout, and I threw the 9th inning. And it was Gary Sheffield, Hideki Matsui, and Bernie Williams. Those are my 3 first batters that I ever faced.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got a ground out to third to Mark Bellhorn to Dave McCarty. Rest in peace, Dave.
Rest in peace.
And then a strikeout to Matsui, and then another ground out to Mark Bellhorn to McCarty. So ground out, strikeout, ground out.
Very nice.
Love
That's a good starting 3.
And Old Yankee Stadium, yeah. Tito put me in a role where I couldn't do too much damage. I think we were up by so much that he helped me out there.
Tito's the best.
Yeah.
Love that. Oh, I love that. I love that you remember that, too. It's because not a lot of people would remember that, but I think for you, for being in Yankee Stadium.
No. Everybody remembers their first inning. Now ask me who I faced my second outing. I know it was Tampa. Right? I think it was Tampa at home, but I could not tell you who I faced. But your first inning, I feel like everybody would remember that. I feel like everybody knows.
There was only one person, I can't say his name, he didn't remember. So I'm
remember his first 3 batters?
Yeah. I guess I can't. I'll say it off the air, but right now I can't say it on live. But I will.
Okay.
I will.
I've talked to several pitchers. I'm with Lenny. No one forgets.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's bizarre. If you don't remember your first 3 batters, man, you must have had either a really long career,
right?
Maybe got hit over the head or something at some point.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
How did it feel playing under Francona? Was it a dream for you, or was it kind of like this is what the Red Sox way has always been? Was it really cool him giving you all the opportunity and stuff?
It was great. It was great because 2004 was my first year. It was his first year.
What a year.
Yeah.
What a year to start.
What a year.
He felt like such a young manager, and he was probably mid-40s, probably 43, 44 at the time. I'm older than he was when he was managing the Red Sox, I believe, right now.
Yeah.
And he felt like a player. and a managerial role, which kind of goes a long way. It goes a long way for a club because there's not that separation. When he walks around the clubhouse, you feel like he could be playing outfield that day, and hit fifth in the
Yep.
lineup. And you respect him because he had that, but he also was great at communication. His door was always open. He was able to make you laugh when you needed it. And I mean, he's a baseball lifer. He grew up in a clubhouse. He spent the majority of his childhood and adult life in a clubhouse, and it really shows. It really shows. And he's not the type of guy that demands respect. He gets it because of his actions and his words and just how he goes about his day, which I think is the way it should be.
Well, and such a change just from what, as a fan we saw from the prior year.
Yeah.
From Grady Little.
Yeah, but I never played for Grady.
I
But
know,
I will say that
not that
everybody,
it's bad, it's just a different style.
Sure, and the guys that played for Grady loved him. I will say that the guys that played
Yeah,
for
I heard
Grady,
that.
they love him. They love him. Yeah, so
They love him way more than fans do. I can say that as a fan.
sure, which
Because I got
is
told that, and I
unfortunate.
was like,
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. You never want to be remembered by
for the worst game you
by the
watched.
worst
yeah.
of us, right?
Yeah.
You always want to be remembered by the best, and it's unfortunate that in the game we play, that's just how it works out.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's very much like you remembering your first 3 outs, right? Like it was just
Yeah.
If all the good he did to get to that point, it was all just diminished in that last half of one game.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah,
for us.
it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And,
Yeah.
It's like Bill Buckner. Bill had
He was forgiven though. Like
he
same
was.
Yeah,
What,
he-
what year? 2000, when did he come out and throw out the first pitch? Was that? I mean, we're talking.
Wasn't it 05?
It was. I thought it was 05, 06, right?
So you're
05.
talking
It was like
20
instant.
years. You're talking 20
29.
years.
29 years.
29 years. Sorry. Oh my gosh.
Mm.
Yeah, you're right. 29 years of him having
That's a
to
good
deal
number.
with Red Sox Nation, and you're talking about a guy that was borderline Hall of Fame, guy that played a long career, who was
Mhm.
just an outstanding ball player, and a guy that probably shouldn't have been out there at first base at that time with his age and his knees. And I'm just
There are no
really
words.
glad. I'm really glad that as a whole, Red Sox Nation and him kind of, before he passed, they kind of put it past everybody, and they gave him a standing O when he was there.
Right.
And
I mean, how could
what
we
a
not, right? Like,
Right.
oh, come
yeah.
on.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm with Bill Buckner.
I have
recommend it. I recommend it. It's really good. It's an outstanding episode, and he's got this way of poking fun at himself, and that's truly in a way that Larry David would write. But I mean, Buckner did an outstanding job.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I was fairly young at the time. I think we're about the same age, but as a lifelong Sox fan, we were in bed because it was late, it's East Coast or whatever. And so we were in bed, and my parents actually woke us up in 86. Like, they're not going to mess this up. We're going to go wake the kids up and let them watch this.
Right.
And
right.
that did not work out. And I was just like, I remember like crying to my mom, why would you wake us up for this? And
Yeah.
I tried to
That's
explain
traumatic.
that to
Oh,
Ken
That's
down in
traumatic.
Florida, and it really was. It was terrible. Like, and I remember calling them. I'm not going to say this on camera either, but like the person that took me to my first game, and I was like, why would you ever introduce me to this? This is the worst thing you could have done, because I love them so much. And I'm going through this now. But then
So
I did get a call in 04.
Unfortunately,
Perfect.
if we are around the same age, you're of a generation that felt the pain. And
Yeah,
the current
right.
generation, not
I'm
so much.
46, so
Yeah.
probably
I'm 40.
close.
I'm 45 years old, and
There you go.
the generation that's watching baseball now doesn't know that pain.
They
You're talking
don't.
about
Right.
pain that people felt for 86 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So what with me, I've been a Red Sox fan since I was 9. So it was
But
kind of
wait,
like.
tell him where you're from, though, because that really
Oh,
leads to this.
okay.
Thing amazing that you're a Sox fan.
Okay, so I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
oh, okay, that's interesting.
It's odd, but also it's one of those things where my whole family, you're either Cubs, White Sox, or Cardinals. But they
Okay.
do like the Yankees too. There's like one set that likes the Yankees, and I'm the only one, and I will still get crap for it, and that's okay. I love the rivalry. But anytime when it came to the World Series with the Red Sox, especially when the Miracle one, I talk about with Lesley a lot, I will literally go,
my favorite.
Manny. And my dad would look at me like, no, not right now in this house. Go to your room and watch the game somewhere else. Like
So
it's
9 years
funny.
old. So you became a Red Sox fan prior to 04?
But so I'm 9 years old. Yes, in '92.
92 you became.
Sorry, not '92. I'm so sorry. That's when I was born. I'm 32. Early 2000s. Early
Okay.
2000s.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it
So
wasn't.
he didn't even really have the pain either. I mean, he had
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing.
Okay.
Right. Correct.
As long as that you didn't become a Red Sox fan from a Cardinals fan after 04, because that's I mean,
Are you? So what are you?
That's
So
the
we
way to get disowned.
hold
did
on.
you become a
So
Red Sox fan because of the 04 World Series?
no.
Okay, it was before
No,
that.
no, no.
Okay.
No. I liked a lot of legends with the Red Sox already, and I was a huge
Okay.
Pedro, Ortiz, and Manny fan. I've always have
Gotcha.
followed them with the Twins and the Twins and Indians before that too.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it was leading up to they all came to my favorite team. It was just
Gotcha.
all leading up.
All right, I get it. That's fine. I mean, I don't know how it is at family reunions or anything, but
Not fun because I brag about going to these games sometimes. And
yeah.
they're just like, I don't know how you sit there. I'm like, I don't know either, but it's fun.
Well, the thing about
Oh my
St. Louis fans are like just the most genuinely affable people that you run into, really. I mean, they're like,
Whether it's intense, they love their team. They are a sports town, devoted till the end, and they will call you out on your bullcrap. That's what
but
they will.
they're not like Philly fans or Yankee fans.
They're
Like
not.
in 04,
Absolutely
they
not.
were letting Red Sox fans into the stadium late in games because
Exactly.
they're just so nice. From my perspective, I feel like St. Louis Cardinal fans are just so nice and they're not like mean spirited. Like when I was in Philadelphia, the stuff that I would hear sitting in that bullpen, like I could
Right. I
never
bet.
repeat. And
Oh,
in New
I bet.
York, my first outing, talk about that. The people, what they were yelling at me
Oh, I
was like
bet.
unrepeatable. But you'd never hear that from a Cardinal fan. You would never hear that. I can't see it happening. So, which is a good thing. Which is
Right.
I'm speaking highly of Cardinal fans because they're genuinely nice people from my perspective.
Do you know what's funny though? Is so Steve Peralt said this
I like that.
recently. This last summer, I think on the 10 was he remembers, and I do as well, obviously, going to Old Yankee Stadium. And you're right, it was like a war zone, quite honestly.
Yes.
I mean, the things, even as a fan, that they would direct at you, going, you realize I'm not playing, right? Like, there's no chance I'm just here to watch the game. I'm just here to
Yeah.
have fun and watch the game. And it was so bad. But now I mean, it's good in one sense. Like, it's just not that intense of a rivalry anymore, which is a
You're
little
right.
bit sad for me.
I remember in 04, I think we were at Fenway, but I mean, every time we would play the Yankees, I would look in the stands and there'd be a fight at some point during the game. There'd be guys rolling
Oh,
down
yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
Okay.
steps in a brawl. And then we're
Still,
talking fans
yeah.
here. Every time they would come to town, at least one of the games would have a fan fight.
That
And
happened this year.
did
Yeah.
it? I feel like it doesn't happen as often as it used to.
No,
Maybe-
that still
Yeah.
maybe it's
goes
coming
on.
back.
I
That
was
still goes on.
there.
Is that? I mean,
I upgraded my seats
okay.
and I was about 4 rows from home plate. And I look back and there's this massive brawl happening. I'm just going, oh, really? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're missing the whole game, but you continue to just
Yeah.
brawl each other out. It's going to be fine. So you said fights. Then I have to ask where you were on July 24th, 2004.
I mean, that's another thing. I honestly can't remember if I was running in from the bullpen or what, but yeah, I would have known. I would have remembered if there was. I would remember if I had punches thrown or anything like that. But yeah, I can't remember. To be honest.
I know of someone that was still in the clubhouse. Like, they still had their street shoes on, their
Okay.
street sneakers.
Yep. Their cities, right?
And running through the tunnels and nearly killed Johnny Pesky. Because Johnny was running up and that person was running down. And so I was just curious because I was
Typically, by the time the bullpen gets to the action,
fun
it's
game
kind
to
of
be at. Let me say that.
yeah. Typically, but by the time the bullpen gets out there, it's usually kind of over with, and people are dusting off and picking people up, and
Yeah, by the time you got like any if you were in the bullpen, it was definitely had wound down quite a
yeah,
bit.
yeah. It doesn't take long. Doesn't take long.
No, there was
But
definitely some.
what an iconic image, Tech
For
and
sure.
A-Rod, and what a turning point, really, if you think about it.
Oh,
Well,
huge
Tech
turning point.
A-Rod, I mean, that was whatever. I mean, I still think of Trot Nixon because you could see it just flipping his head.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
And Kapler too was
and
another guy where
Kapler,
him and
yes,
was it
like
Sturts? Yeah,
they saw red. They
yeah,
saw red that game.
yeah.
There's just no chance they didn't.
Trot,
Agreed.
I mean Trot. You let him fire in him, he gets red.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
He
yeah.
gets red. I mean, he gets red at fantasy camp.
I've seen it.
Trot's a guy
would-
where if a call
Okay,
doesn't go
so
his
that was one of my
way
next
or
questions.
something,
Have you seen him at fantasy camp, and does he do
Yeah.
that too?
No, he did.
he'll
He,
lose it. He'll lose it.
Really?
The
Okay.
competitive edge is
One of-
still there
one of
with
the-
Trot Nixon.
the guys
don't
on the
just lose
opposite
that.
team, it was Fulke's team that he was playing, and one of the guys kind of mouthed off back to Trot, and he was like not having it. I was like, I had kind of peeked over to the other game because one of my friends was playing, and I just hear this absolute from nothing to I'm not the happiest person on the ball field
Yeah.
right now kind of
Yeah.
scenario. And I was like, what's happening?
Now imagine
happened?
Trot 20 years earlier,
Exactly.
still in
Yeah.
uniform.
Right.
Fiery
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
He's a guy that would run through a wall for anybody on his club, and
But
I
you
love
love
gotta
that.
love him. Gotta love him. Yeah,
That's a good
love it,
clubhouse
respect
guy,
it.
regardless that he was amazing, like an amazing player. To have those kind of guys in the clubhouse is just an immeasurable kind of
For
thing
sure.
to have. So
Absolutely.
I mean,
sorry, I just
all
had
the
to ask
time.
about 04.
All the time, though. All the
It was
time,
really,
though.
really fun game for me. Gino, you said you were going to ask something.
So, also, what people don't know about me too, Lenny, is I really liked McFarlane figures back then. So with McFarlane, those little statue McFarlane figures of
Okay.
like they have of like anybody, Yankees, Red Sox, football, baseball, basketball, and of course video games, of course. And that's how I grew my Red Sox fandom too. My dad would go like my dad would go to the store, and that would be my allowance, is he would give me all kinds of Boston stuff. So
Okay.
that's how
I
it
don't
grew
get
too.
that.
In St. Louis, because you would get Albert Pujols, you would probably get Reggie Sanders, you would get Yadier Molina. I got something else.
Gotcha.
It was always fun though. But one of my questions is for the bullpen, back end of the bullpen. We got Chapman now, you got Hendricks. Who do you think is going to be the closer or the setup man before him? What's your gut feeling?
I mean, I feel like they're going to give the ball to Hendricks out of the chute. He's healthy. He
Mhm.
wants it. He wanted it last year. He wanted to be able to pitch and just missed the cut.
Mhm.
They were trying to keep him healthy for this season, and hopefully that pays off this year. I feel like he's going to be the guy that takes the ball at the end of the games. And as far as setup mid prior, it's probably going to be a toss up between Chapman and Slayton, I'm guessing. But
Mhm.
we got a lefty and we have a righty, so you're thinking
Maybe the
depending on
Angels guy too, yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's going to depend on, what kind of bats we have coming up in that particular inning, whether you're going to put the lefty or the righty in before facing Hendricks. So it's nice to have a lefty and a righty option in that role. The good thing about, you don't need one guy in that role like you do with a closer. I feel like
Right.
you need one guy that's going to close games. I don't like the closer by committee, but it's nice to have more than one guy in that setup role going into the closer, because especially being a lefty or a righty, it's nice to have options.
This literally just popped into my head. What's your thought on the 6-man rotation instead of the 5?
Ooh, yes.
And I know it's a different team and it's a different time and it's a different way of playing baseball. So I
Yeah.
get all of that.
Correct. Right.
Yeah, I feel like it would, at certain points of the year, if you had a 6-man rotation, it would keep certain guys healthier during the later part of the season, giving them that extra day, because it's cumulative. And one thing we've noticed about this Sox club, the past few years, to me, it looks like they've gotten tired. They've kind of hit a wall.
It
late
really
in the
does.
season.
That second half. That second
Yeah.
half just
It's
killed
like
them.
really right after the trade deadline and right around the trade deadline, All-Star break, right around there, you start to see these guys hit a wall. They start to get tired. So having a 6-man rotation at certain points of the year could keep these guys kind of energized toward the final months of the season, which is what you want, right? You don't
Absolutely.
you don't have to have the best team to get to the playoffs and win the World Series. You have to get hot at the right time, right?
Yes. Yeah, I
You got to
mean,
be
because
healthy.
early last season, I mean, it was kind of like on par for an 0-4 run kind of a situation. And I remember saying that and probably jinxed it myself. But and then it just all imploded.
Yeah. So I'm okay
It
with it. I'm okay with it at certain points.
Gotcha.
You know,
it is
I think
interesting. I don't know if you've noticed this. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Didn't
no
notice the schedule. There's like no Thursday games for like 2 months.
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
kidding.
What's up with that? It's
No,
crazy.
it's yeah.
I haven't
Like,
noticed that. I haven't even looked, to be honest. I haven't even looked at the schedule. But
I was
yeah,
just looking at my tickets and noticed that I'm like, why are there any Thursday games? What is happening
that
right
is
now?
different. Yeah, but it's still
Yeah,
gonna be 162 games, right? They're gonna get them in somewhere.
it is.
So yeah,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are really nice for me since I don't live in state though, so then I can fly in easier.
gotcha.
But it's fine.
mm.
I mean, don't do that around the random fan schedule. But it was just an interesting, like I was looking at it going, what? There's literally no Thursday games. And then does that help in your 5-man rotation save that, you know, do the 5-man and then switch over to 6 as the season progresses and kind of just save that arm because you're
Yeah,
not necessarily going to need the 6-man
Especially
for
sure.
with
the first
injuries.
half.
Especially
Yeah,
with
so it's
injuries,
it's
yeah.
certain parts where there's a lot of games and there's a schedule where they're traveling a lot and the energy is going to be drained. Obviously, having that option to have the 6-man rotation is good. I'd rather have that than an opener. You know, I'm not a huge fan of
Mm-hmm.
having a guy go 1 or 2 innings and then a bulk
Oh.
guy and then another. I'm a fan of the least amount of hands touching a
I need to
baseball.
go 6 or 7, ideally, honestly.
Yeah, the least
6
amount
is
of
great.
yeah.
Please.
When you've got guys, 5 or 6 guys touching a baseball on any given day, that's typically not great. You know, I'd like to see a starter go
No.
6, at least 6, and then maybe 2 or 3 relievers, depending on what you got going in there and filling in the gaps, and one of them being the
Mm-hmm.
closer, one being the setup guy, and so yeah, 6 or 7 would be great out of a starter.
Oh
That's
wow.
we I would love that throughout the season. I feel like hopefully the pendulum shifts back in that direction because we shifted so far in a direction to where 5 and dives kind of what we're getting from a pitcher. 5 innings, they're done. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was playing, and I sound like an old man, but if you throw 5 innings and you're done, you're throwing your glove in your locker when you get there.
Yes.
Like
And
you
I
feel
think
like
that's
you
Yeah.
part of
failed.
that, though.
Five's
It's
not
because
good.
that's what I was growing up with was 5 is
Yeah.
done.
You
Forget
want to
about
go
it. We're not
nine.
doing
You
it.
want to go nine. You want to go nine every time, right? And it
Yeah.
doesn't happen. But
Everybody wants 9 and everybody, like I
Yeah.
remember Keith Volk when I interviewed him, he said that was what he always wanted his number to be because he always wanted to go 9. And I was
exactly.
like,
Ooh.
You
you
have
sure
to have
that's
that
not like a Ted
mentality.
Williams or Roy Hobbs thing? But I'll let him have it. Yeah,
You have to have
everybody
that
wants to do
mentality.
that,
You'll
but I
never
don't know
have
that they
it'll
do now.
what's that?
I don't know that all of them do. I think that's
Yeah,
part.
no, 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 not
Right.
anymore. Not
Right.
anymore. They go 5 innings, they're totally fine. They're totally fine. They
Yeah,
go five
no.
innings and it's like I did my job today and I handed it to the next guy. And that's just the way the game is right now. But again, I hope that the pendulum's swinging back in a direction where 6 or 7's more ideal and more kind of
Yeah,
in the scope of these starting pitchers and staffs.
yeah, for sure.
But we'll see.
We'll
Here.
We will see.
your lips to God's ears.
Go ahead, Leslie. Go ahead.
Okay. So looking back at last season and looking forward to this season, if there was one pitcher, and I'm trying to phrase this in a way that makes sense because in my head I know what I'm trying to say. If there was one pitcher that could just change just a little bit and have a dramatic impact on the upcoming season for good, who do you think that would be? I'll give you my answer. My answer is Bayo. I think if he could just get out of his head just a little bit and he has such a Pedro like quality to him. I
Mhm.
think if he could embrace that just a little bit, I think it honestly could give me my extra 10 games that would get me into the playoffs, which would make me so happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's my question is who
No,
could give
no.
the best
I mean,
benefit
I
to
don't
that?
know if you wanted a different pitcher, but when you were asking that question, I was thinking of Bayo too.
Oh,
And I feel like part of his learning process, and part of what hurt
Right.
him. Part of what hurt him is the comparison to Pedro. I feel like because it's been mentioned so
I
often. Like
know.
you look like Pedro. Look at the mechanics. You've got a changeup that does the same thing as Pedro, and I feel like that might have affected him negatively.
It
You know,
could
because
have.
it's really high standard. It's really, really a high standard for him to go out there and fill. It's big shoes, so to speak. So
Well, and especially for anybody like my age that grew up watching it, in
yeah,
our head, it's not even '04 Pedro or '03 Pedro, which was phenomenal, right? In
Right.
our minds, it's '99 Pedro, and there's nothing that might be ever better than that. So
yeah,
when someone says we got to do Pedro, and I'm watching this going, where?
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
Obviously that could have done it, but I really just tiny bit, tiny bit
yeah.
makes the
So
biggest difference in
here,
25 to me.
and the difference is because there are a lot of similarities mechanics wise. There is a lot of similarities as far as the RPMs and the tilt on his changeup.
Hmm.
There are a lot of similarities, but Pedro had something that you really can't teach. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
it's
Right.
that fire on the mound. It's that aspect where if you look at him a little bit different, he's probably going to knock you down,
I
right?
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you really can't teach that. You know, to be able to have that chip on your shoulder, that fire that you carry with you on the field is developed. Everybody gets it from a different spot, you know,
Everybody
and
does. And I think you're right, very much so, that it was hard to even, and probably wrong for anybody to even compare the poor kid to Pedro, because comparing someone
Right.
to one of the greatest pitchers we've ever seen as Red Sox fans that are alive anyway. I mean, that's
yeah,
how you do that
Right.
to someone.
yeah,
But I was just curious because I think if you're 10 games, you pick up 10 games, you're playoffs
exactly.
easily.
And I think we're already there. If I feel like if Bayo has the same season he had last year, we've probably already picked up 10 games. If Crochet, if Bueller, if Tanner has the same season he had last year, right?
I
If
think
those
Trevor's
guys,
story alone
Right.
yeah, Story's
helps.
Right.
going to help
Story.
defensively. Why can't you pick up 10 games? There's no reason why they couldn't. But if Bayo goes
Rafaela.
out there, if he pitches to his potential, I don't know what his ERA is off the top of my head, but it's got to be three-quarters of a point or a point lower, in my opinion, than where it is right now. And there's no reason why it can't with this stuff, right? If he goes out there
Right.
and pitches with confidence, with the how do I put this? With some sort of intensity that Pedro-esque intensity where he keeps guys honest and kind of on their heels. He's got the
Right.
fastball to pitch to people to make them uncomfortable in the box. Guys are way too comfortable in the box against him with his stuff, and that's it's
Well, for
it's
sure. I mean,
bizarre
so
because he's really good.
his ERA was 4.49.
Okay,
So,
yeah. So
yeah. I mean, honestly, and that's what I noticed too, because like I said, I was up there for several games last year, and every time he would pitch, it was like, why are they so comfortable in box? And you're absolutely right. It was like, no big deal. This is like I'm going up against whomever. Like it was
yeah,
just not a big deal. Whereas he should have the dominance on the mound to kind of put that Pedro a little bit fear into the
yeah.
person at bat, right? So,
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
noticed at certain points last year where Alex would go to the mound with a certain quick stepping cadence, like your dad coming to see you,
exactly.
right?
And
He would
Yes.
come to
sometimes
the
they need
mound,
that.
he would cover
Yeah.
his mouth, and he would kind of point to his chest, and you know what he's telling him, right? He's like, "You need to
Right.
buckle down right here,"
Yeah.
Right.
you know. And he needed that at certain points of the year, and that's another thing. That's another thing that Alex does really well is communicating to players and being able to be that guy depending on who you are, he can be a certain type of manager. You
Yeah.
know, for Bayo, he's that guy. He's kind of the coach that can bear down on you and let you know when you're not living up to your potential. And in certain parts he wasn't, and I think Bayo needed that from him at certain times.
I do think, and
Mm.
this is, just from a fan's aspect,
True.
like, and it all goes back to '04 because that was the most fun I've ever had watching baseball, honestly. Um, but to have that like Tito mentality, I always joke like if Alex Cora could just have a little bit more Tito and really just like you said though, how he is with Bayo, if he could be like that with even more players, I feel like, and I'm just gonna say it, if he could be like that more with our first baseman, I feel like we could have had a different outcome last year.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I
And you
mean,
don't have to say anything about that, but
no,
like
no, not
that's
at all.
just
But
my opinion.
I feel like that's kind of the way the game's going now.
Yeah.
Call it good, call it bad, whatever it is. Now it's the whole let the kids play,
Yeah, let the kids
right?
go out there and do their thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let the kids go out there and play, and that allows them to be
They're not in
relaxed.
Little League, and I didn't get that in
Yeah,
Little League either. So
I know. Yeah,
Right,
it's
right. Me neither.
times have changed. Times have
if you're
changed,
not
and
first or last, Leslie, get out there and go do something.
yeah, you're right. You're right. But
Yeah.
we're at a time now where it's you've got to allow certain players to be themselves, to be comfortable, because at the end of the day, if they're being themselves and they're confident in themselves, they're probably going to put up better numbers. And I can speak to that because in '04, when I was a rookie, I
Mm.
probably wasn't myself at certain points of the season, probably the majority
Probably
of the
not.
season.
How would
No,
you be,
Yeah.
honestly? I
Yeah,
mean, you're
yeah,
just
yeah.
starting out,
couldn't
and
couldn't because I was a Rule 5 guy. I was 24 years old, I was a veteran club, and at every turn I had to go get the beer for the veterans, and I was dressed up as a Hooters waitress from Toronto to Tampa, me and Euclid, and yeah, I mean, it was like I had to carry veterans bags and stuff like that, and
Yeah, right,
get up there and sing your college fight song in the middle of the bus, and it was nonstop. It was
right,
nonstop. That's just the time it was.
right.
That had been going on for generations, and up until
if
recently, that's kind of changed.
I was going to ask, because we don't, and especially on this team in particular, I mean, the most veteran person we have is Tech, and he's coaching.
Sure.
We
True.
don't
Yeah.
have the veteran players. So does that have an impact as well? It's not like you had Wake and Pedro and Manny and Tech. Like they don't have that now. They don't
Yeah, I
have
mean, they've
that
got veterans. They've got Story. If he's healthy, if he's around,
Yeah.
he's
but
the
he
type
was
of guy.
playing, right? Yeah. But
Yeah, when he's
you gotta have
there,
him
he's
playing.
definitely that guy. And when Justin Turner was here before,
R-
prior to
Right.
that, he was
It's
another
really just been
guy.
the last.
Canley, yeah.
Yeah,
Paxton too.
Kenley,
Yeah.
exactly.
Paxton too as well.
Yeah, and a veteran today is different than a veteran back then too. You
It is.
know,
True.
yeah,
True.
because I heard something. I think it was Trevor Story talking about one of the youngsters coming up in the minor leagues, and he's just like he was talking about his approach or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, man, that's awesome. I'm listening to this guy talk about baseball, and I mean,
Yeah.
when I was coming up, a veteran typically wouldn't even talk to a rookie
That's
about that kind
exactly
of
Right.
right.
stuff.
Right.
It's like
I
they
mean,
don't want to know what I'm thinking about. They're trying to go out there and do a job, and whatever. This is how it was. You
yeah, I
know?
mean, I appreciate that about Story, because he does the camp down in
Yeah,
Texas, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you never have that happen before. And so, I
Right.
mean, that aspect of it's fantastic. I just think, especially during like the slump of the season after that last half, if you would have had maybe that one guy that would have been like, let's do this. I mean, very much the Poppy speech in 2013 as he's screaming at people in the dugout, or Chris Sale in 2018. Just give them that little oomph, because they are kids. I mean, these young,
yeah,
they're kids, the
yeah.
rookie
And I
guys.
feel
I mean, I
like
didn't think that when I was younger, but like now I'm looking at it going, oh, they
yeah,
just need someone to yell at them a little
yeah.
bit.
And a lot of that's kind of Alex's job now too. If you don't have the
Right.
veteran
Yeah.
presence in the clubhouse, a lot of times Tito would allow the clubhouse to police itself. Just he didn't have to go out there and have those conversations because
That's
the
what. Yeah.
veteran would take it upon themselves to call someone out, and whether it was in front of the team or whether it was one on one, he didn't need to address any kind of issues in the clubhouse because it was taken care of.
Yeah. I mean, you did come up in kind of a renegade cowboy clubhouse that first
Yeah.
year, but it worked out for
But
me. So
we
that's
had
fine.
different types of veterans. We had different types of
Right.
veterans back then.
Right.
We had
Right.
the
You did.
loud Millar type veteran, the Damon guys that were
For sure.
outspoken.
For sure.
But we also had the
Wait,
Billy Millers and the Kaplers. Those guys,
For
they kind
sure.
of led by example. And Dave
you're
Pilar.
gonna
McCarty was a big guy with the rookies who led by example, and
Pilar
just
too.
kind of
Yeah.
you're telling me that Millar was opinionated and loud? That's brand new
maybe a little bit, maybe a
information.
little bit. Yeah,
Maybe brand new information.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not mad at him, because he really gave. It was great
sure.
to CHB. So it was fun for me. But yeah,
Lenny, you're around the Red Sox all the time, working for Nesson since 2017. Have you picked a lot with Bailey, our pitching coach's brain, about because he's always, to me, he's totally changed what the pitching is here from previous. You're seeing a lot with Houck now. You're seeing the development for pitchers. Do you think the Red Sox are in good hands going forward with Bailey right now?
Yeah, well, we actually played in the Oakland organization when he was there back
Right,
in,
right,
was that 2010 or so?
right.
We were both
You're
there, and that's
familiar
where
with them with your 2 stints there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so that's where I actually met Andrew, and first of all, extremely smart, bright individual, knows pitching very, I mean, knows it very well. Was highly successful at it, but there's a lot of highly successful pitchers that can't really translate what makes you successful.
hmm
I feel like he's not that guy. He's the type of guy that's able to translate it very effectively to multiple different types of pitchers, lefties, righties, hard throwers, thumbers, whatever it is. And I feel like he brings the most and the best out of individuals because not only because of his eyes, but he also brings a little bit of analytics into it as well.
yeah.
He's the type of pitching coach that will say, all right, look at these numbers. If you throw this pitch in this zone this often, you're probably going to be more successful. Or if you cut this pitch out a little bit, here are the numbers to back it up. And not only that, he's going to say, all right, look at the shape of this pitch. Maybe try this with your middle finger. Let's see what that does. So again, he's bringing some old school and some new school to the pitching staff in general,
I like that.
and being able to be a great communicator as well. And people look at him and respect him because he's been there.
I mean, it seems to be working. Don't change anything. Honestly,
Sure.
it was amazing. So I'm curious about this. So if you had to pick 4 pitches from 4 different current Red Sox pitchers, what pitch and who are you choosing to throw them?
4 different pitches.
Yeah, pitches. Yeah.
Like curve change.
All right, so I would take
Fastball.
Tanner Houck's sweeper,
Okay.
right? I would take Brian Bayo's changeup, right?
Ooh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a phenomenal changeup when he's throwing it for strikes. Uh,
Changes.
what's that?
Oh, I love a good change. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's see, 2 more. Let's see. Who's got the good fastball? Crochet's left-handed fastball, upper part of the zone. I
I
gotta
was
take
going to
that.
say Crochet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta
Crochet's
take that.
invisible, right? The top of the zone. What's the? I mean, let me think. Who's got the hook? Who's got the? I mean, I love Nick Pavetta's curveball. He's no longer with the Red
Yeah.
Sox, but last
No,
year with
he
his
had a zip.
curveball,
He had a zip. Yeah.
Nicky
he had a
P's
great
curve.
curveball. What's that?
Nicky P's curve.
I like Nicky P's curveball. I feel like it was a good pitch. Yeah. So we got a slide, a sweeper, a curveball, a changeup, and a fastball from 4 different guys. I want to see who's going to bring the curveball to the table this year. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
that
see
could be
who that guy
fun
is.
to find out for sure. I had always heard, like, if I'm going back to the early aughts, like Trevor Hoffman and Keith Folks change fastballs were like the absolute worst for anybody to ever hit. Didn't get thrown, obviously. So
Keith threw a different changeup. I've never
Yeah,
seen it
that's-
he threw a
before.
circle
Yeah.
change.
He
threw a
did, but he
circle.
really gripped it with these 2 fingers.
Yeah, it's this, and then he pushed
gripped
it
it with
forward
these
like a
2.
fastball.
These
Right.
2 were just kind of hanging on for the ride, right? Or these other 3 fingers were hanging on for the ride. He really just gripped it with just these 2 fingers. If you can put a baseball right there.
Yeah.
And just kind of let it go right there. And it kind of just came out of his hand like poof.
Ooh.
Rather than let it come out normal.
Like a fastball, though. Almost
Yeah.
like a fastball.
He sold
threw,
it.
like,
He
the
sold it
circle
with his arm
change, but
speed.
Exactly.
In a good changeup, you have to sell it with your body speed, with your arm speed. It has to look like a fastball. But his was so good, and he threw it in such an unorthodox way, and it was honestly
Millar
hard to
told
pick
me
up.
that once. He told me that once, and I was like, really? Like, okay, I'll believe you. But yeah.
And he was my throwing
Trevor
partner.
Hoffman.
He was my throwing partner for a while. Keith Falk was, and
wasn't our new GM as well?
so was Craig Breslow. Yeah, different points, but different years, different throwing partners. But I remember Keith. He had a nasty split finger when we were playing catch. He would always bring it out at the end of our catch sessions, and I'd be running to the Green Monster. It seemed like 10 times a catch because it was just I wanted no part of it. He would throw it, it'd start here, and it would end up down at my ankles, and I'd be running to get it. you
Let's
know,
see.
just
I
embarrassed. We're supposed to be professionals. We're running to go get these balls.
messaged Keith because I'm friends with him. Like any questions for Lenny?
Go for it. Let's do
And
it. Let's do it.
let's see. He didn't even have questions. He goes, he's a really good musician, which I already know. And then he's like, and
That's
when he
yeah.
pitches, he's extremely hard to catch because he's absolutely filthy. And then I had messaged Lenny this before this. He goes, yeah, same.
Yeah.
So I was like, not really helpful, Keith. But
The
thanks so
problem
much
with
for
me,
playing.
the problem with me is every time I grip a four-seam fastball, it's gonna cut. It's
Mhm.
gonna cut
That's not
glove
bad.
side naturally. It just naturally cuts glove side. But every now and then, for some unknown reason, it would just go the opposite direction. And I remember, like, I would field bunts or ground balls back to me, and I would wheel around and I would throw it to our first baseman, and it would be the nastiest pitch I threw that day. It would like move 3 feet glove side, and they would literally do this. They'd go, "Woo," and try to catch it like that, and then they'd look at me like, "What was that?" It happened
Where'd
all the
that come
time.
from?
I had a natural cut on the ball, and I could not throw it straight if I wanted to for some reason.
Well, so I don't know if you were there. I know you're a huge Pearl Jam fan. You've played
Yeah.
with the band, which we won't even get into because it's like my little grungy heart just died. Were you at Pearl Jam this last summer?
Yeah, I think I made this day one. So I made
I
one show in
wasn't day
16,
one.
one show in 18, and one show this year.
And so you heard what Eddie Vedder said about Wake
Yes.
and the whole like
Right.
text telling him not to move, and the ball just goes nice and around Eddie Vedder, and he goes, "I really wanted to move," but when Jason Varitek tells you to do something, and then of course, Kath had to get on Instagram and be like, "I can guarantee that's not true. Actually, you don't actually have to tell you do what Jason tells you to do." But yeah, that's when you said that. That's exactly what I thought of was that
Well,
curveball
I
or
made the
that
mistake. I made the
knuckleball going
mistake.
around Eddie Vedder and not hitting
Yeah,
him.
I made the mistake. We were shagging balls in the outfield during batting practice, and Wake was on the bucket. The starting pitcher
Yeah.
the previous day gets the bucket. And I said, "All right, Wake, let me see it. One of these. Let me see it. Throw it to me." And that ball was started in my chest and literally
Right.
hit me in the kneecap.
Oh,
It
yeah.
hit me in the
I
kneecap.
bet.
I never asked him to throw me another one again. And I mean, I got the utmost respect for Doug Mirabelli to be
That's
able
what I
to
was
go
just
out
going to
there
say. God
and
bless Dougie on
catch
that
that ball.
because
I
he's
agree.
like the only person that could catch Wake.
Yeah, yeah,
It was ridiculous.
yeah. It was the nastiest pitch, and he could throw it on both sides of the plate. He could throw it not only that, but fastballs and curveballs too, and yeah, in any role.
Legend.
Absolutely.
Legend. Yeah, but that's exactly what popped up when you said that. I was like, oh, I just hear Eddie Vedder now.
Yeah.
Like standing there. that was like a bucket list thing for me to see Pearl Jam at Fenway. In fact,
Was that how many
you
times have
can't
you
see
seen
it
him?
now. I've seen him several times, but only at Fenway once, and you
Okay.
can't see it because my stupid camera moves with me and it drives me crazy. But I have the framed Pearl Jam poster from
Ooh.
this
Let me
last year.
skip this a little bit so you can see. I don't know if you can see, but if you see that,
Oh, that's so cool.
that's me and Eddie. That's a ball he signed to me.
Oh.
It's fine.
And there's an Eddie poster right there, and if you can see that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I see that.
Yes.
Oh, I love
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
I mean, Lenny doesn't
Love
realize
this. Great
that I've
wall
been in love
too.
with
I
Eddie
see all the
Vedder
other stuff
since
as well.
I got a bunch of stuff.
1994. It's fine. I'm like,
Don't
Eddie Vedder.
don't mind the Emmy.
I was
Humble
about
brag.
to say that's an Emmy right there.
Yeah, don't mind humble
Don't
brag
mind
right
the
there. I have to do that.
sweatshirt. No,
I'm
just
very
joking.
Lenny, you got to, bro. That's
I'm very
awesome.
proud of that. I'm very proud of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I
mean,
love
that's.
that.
I mean, who can really say they've played on stage with Eddie Vedder? That
was a blast. If
phenomenal.
you're looking for it on YouTube, everybody out
Go
there,
for it. Yes.
it's on. It's called. Just look up Eddie Vedder Taillights Fade, Hot Stove or whatever, and it's a Buffalo Tom song called Taillights Fade. It was a blast.
Let me ask you this, because I feel like I know that someone was on stage this last time. Were you on stage this last time?
At Fenway?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't
was
there.
Was that
I
just
think-
Theo?
Gotcha.
Well, I think John Krasinski was on stage with somebody else, kind of just hanging out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, so at the very end, he brought some people from like backstage on, and it looked like it could have been Theo. I don't know if it was or not.
It might have
And
been, but
then-
I know Krasinski and maybe a hockey player from, I'm not sure who it was.
I mean,
was there too. Yeah, I was up near
Phenomenal.
the Sam Adams deck watching.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
right
there you go.
behind home plate. I was right
Oh,
behind
okay.
home plate watching. Yeah, because it was
Nice.
very last minute. It was one of the last minute trips. I said, you know what, we're going. And so I told my best friend. She goes, I've never seen Pearl Jam. I said,
Yeah.
well, you're in for a good show.
Oh, it's a
So,
treat. It's a
I
treat.
bought a poster. I bought a poster through the Hot Stove people, and
Oh,
I met
cool.
the artist. I met the artist that night too, Brian Fox, and I got him to sign the poster for me too.
very nice.
So I need to get that framed up. I've got a
You
They
bunch
are
of
nice
my.
framed. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm gonna see if I can get it so you can see. Maybe. No, it's still gonna focus on me because it sucks. Okay.
oh,
So I'll show you later.
Man.
I'll show you the picture
yeah.
later. But it's
My whole
very
den is all baseball and music. It's like all the
baseball
walls
Right,
are
music.
covered in baseball and music, all framed stuff. So
Yeah, I have
yeah.
baseball, and then in my other room, I'm like a crazy U2 fan. I've been going to U2 since I was
Oh, love
9.
it. Love it.
Nice.
Love you too.
Yeah, I may have lied to my mom, God rest her soul, and said to her, "It's this nice Christian band, Mom. You have to let me go."
You weren't lying. You weren't
I
lying.
mean, kind of. So it was Joshua Tree because I am old, and so she takes me. She takes me to the concert, and I get this look of Lesley, Nicole. I don't know that I would call them Christian band, and I was like, yes, ma'am. But then I've seen them every tour
There are
Nice.
tours
ever
since
since
then.
then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I played a U2 song with Will Daly at the Vineyards Vine Club probably 2, maybe 3 years ago. And he asked me what I wanted to play, and I picked In God's Country by U2.
Oh, that's one of the best songs. I love
That's
it.
one of my
God's
favorite
Country.
U2 songs. Yeah, it's a great song. So we ended up playing that. I
Love
need
that.
to find footage. I need to find footage of that somewhere. I think they have it in Essen because they were there. But if I get
Yeah.
it, I'll post it somewhere.
Yeah, that one
I
was
love
good.
that.
And then
I love that.
Acrobat is like a whole other vibe for me because I really like that like early 90s grunge
Yeah.
moment. But
I love that. I love going
Nice.
down memory lane. I love going down memory lane with all that. For me, I'm gonna go back to baseball. For me, with Casas, Lenny, why do you think he was so much in trade talks in the offseason, or his name even being popped out? What do you think is the reason behind all that?
Well, you're taught early on in your career, typically early in the minor leagues, that you're trying out for the other team, and if the other team wants to trade for you, you're doing something right. So I feel like he has a high ceiling. I feel like he hasn't shown that yet, and I feel like
Right.
sometimes that can be enticing to other clubs. And if you're trying to get a big piece, you want to be able to give a big piece, or you have to be able to give a big piece, I say.
Right.
And I don't know if it was the media or the fans kind of putting that out there that he's on the block or whatever. I don't know how much
right.
truth is to it, to be honest. But yeah, I feel like if he stays healthy, he's going to be a big part of this club this next season. I feel like that's the biggest thing there. He has to stay healthy and
Right.
and continue that trajectory that he's been on prior to getting derailed and hurting himself.
Right.
It's true.
Anybody that can stay healthy this year is going to be a benefit
Absolutely.
to us. I think,
First and foremost, health.
Health
Yeah.
and reps. Health
That's
and
it.
reps.
Health and reps, definitely. With your I'm gonna go back to the Red Sox in the Athletics. You did 2 stints with the Red Sox in Athletics. Some of your favorite times with the Red Sox, you could say, of course, the World Series, but even with the Athletics, with the people you played, what was some of the best times with both those clubs? It's just been a lot of time there with both clubs.
Yeah, I mean, with the Red Sox, obviously 2004, kind of getting my feet
Correct.
wet.
Yeah. Right.
That was such a fun year. I mentioned getting hazed with Euclid, dressing up in a Hooters outfit. That was as difficult as it was
Classic.
at the time. They told us at the time, don't act like you love it too much and don't act like you hate it too much, and you probably won't have to
Right.
do it again. And I'm lucky enough that I only had to do it one time. But things like that,
Thank God for that.
when you retire from the game, typically, and I was talking to some of the guys at Fantasy Camp about this, but you miss the camaraderie more than the actual on-field stuff. You miss being in the clubhouse and goofing off and just the things that
Right.
most of the fans don't even know about or don't even see, the
Right.
relationships,
Right.
which is why we like going in January to hang out with guys that we've became family with, for so long. It's getting to get back into a clubhouse and oftentimes in a bar with these same folks is a lot of fun. But as far as
Yeah.
on-field stuff, my first outing at Fenway, my I think when I was with Oakland, my best game, I think I threw 8 innings against Kansas City. I threw 85 pitches in 8 innings, and uh, the manager took me out. And it wasn't a
Oh
safe
no.
situation, but he put in the
Yeah.
closer. He put in the closer. 8 innings, non-save situation, took me after 85 pitches. I it's hard to wrap my head around that, but it was still it was a really fun game for me to be a part of. And getting my only hit, I had 5 at bats and I got my only
Ooh,
hit
yes.
in San Francisco against Matt Cain in 2007. That was a blast. I hit it to Barry Bonds. In between Barry Bonds and Omar Vizquel playing
Yeah.
shortstop, neither one of them could get to it. That was a highlight. And grounding out against Tom Glavine was a highlight. Tom Glavine
Ooh.
grounded me out in New York,
Ooh.
the second base, and I put that on my Instagram. You have to search for it a little bit, but grounding out against Tom Glavine's a highlight because he was one of my idols growing up. Clemens and Glavine were my two guys. I had one lefty, one righty that I kind of idolized, and so to be able to face him that many years later was just like
I love
that
that.
was my fantasy camp, you know?
I love that. That's
Yeah,
awesome stories. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell
So cool.
that you guys still, I mean, it's like picking up just where you left off. All you players down at camp.
until we get
I mean,
back in
it's just-
uniform. Until we get back in uniform, we actually try to play catch and hit. It's not the same anymore at 45 or 50.
Huh.
A lot of these guys are in 50s now.
Don't let Letty say that. I saw him pitching down
Eh.
there because they were doing you guys were pitching because you had to make up some time.
Yeah.
Because it was a really bad weather a couple days beforehand.
Sure.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
And y'all got sick too, so yeah.
Yeah, we all got the crud. Yeah.
We all got the plague and I got to watch Lenny pitch. It was fun.
It's true though. It's true though. All right, go ahead, Lesley.
I don't know that I have a whole lot more actually.
Oh.
I was actually looking to see. I was trying to in my mind remember if when you went back to the A's or went to the A's, did you get to play with Fulke again?
I did. And
Yeah.
Embry. And Embry.
Embry, right?
Alan
Yeah.
Embry and Keith Falk.
I
And
thought that would be the case. I was trying to remember when you all were there. Like,
yeah. I played with Mike
just
Piazza. Mike
Right,
Piazza in his
right,
last year in
yes.
Oakland. I played with Frank Thomas in his last year.
Love
Piazza was.
Yeah. But I've got a fond memory in Oakland of me and Keith's oldest son, Cade, running sprints in the outfield.
No way.
And he was probably, gosh, he must have been like 4 at the time, like
Mm.
4 years old or something around there. He's really, really small. But again, on my Instagram, I put a picture up a while back of us running sprints. And I think he's 21 now.
Yeah, I actually watched him pitch down in Galveston last year.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever I see him, I'm like, my goodness, I'm getting old just because he's
Southpaw,
21
just
now.
like
And yeah. So yeah, I have fond memories of that. Having him run around the clubhouse and running sprints with us in the outfield.
Oh, that's so cool. I love
really is. It's just so much fun. I'm looking through my like prepared questions. I don't really think I had anything too much more.
Yeah. He's like, nah.
Not really,
Free falling. I got two more for you, Lenny. We appreciate you being on
Sure.
the pod, man. This is awesome. 2 more for me. In Rhode Island, best pizza to get.
Ooh. Okay. So I found a place.
My first question. That's my first question. I'll
okay.
Go for it. What's your?
So there's 2 places. One's convenient for us, and the other is just they're different styles. The first is it's called Pasquale's. It's in the South County Commons.
I've heard of that. Yes, sir.
And it's a wood fire pizza, and it's got prosciutto and some greens on it. It's delicious. Prosciutto, yeah, it's really, really good. And they don't have that delivered. They only put that in the store. If you eat in the store, you can have it there. And the other's Matunic pizza because it's close to where we live. So if we're gonna order a pizza close by where it's kind of like, why don't we get a pizza? We'll go to Matunic Pizza down by the surf shop in Matunic.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. You had a follow up. You said, Lesley. You said something.
Well,
what was your favorite?
Maybe not because I'm like thinking of the all of Rhode Island, and I worked on a campaign in Providence, and I was just telling Geno this before we started. Like, there's Capital Grills everywhere, and you can go to Capital Grill, in all the big cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Capitol Grill in Providence to me is clearly the best one. And I don't know if it was just because Mayor Buddy had his like wine there and I got to see him there a lot, which was always
I've been to that Capitol Grill when I was playing at Pawtucket for a little bit. I've been to that one. But I haven't
yeah.
been since, to be honest. It's been a long time.
I have not been in like probably 15 years, honestly, but it was the best one. Like I'd been to the one in Boston a lot. I've been to the one in Kansas City, been everywhere. But I always joke like, you guys just really don't know a good Capitol Grill until you go to the one in Providence, Rhode Island. And people look at me like that is so random, and I'm like, I'm telling you, it's the best one. I don't know if it was just the company or like the fact that you'd see some real characters.
Yeah,
you were going, but
it
was the best. It was the best. Atmosphere makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
So.
I love it. Well, okay, my second question is with your kids. You're a professional baseball player, analyst now for Nesson. Your kids, what sports are they into, and where could you see them playing? Maybe go far, maybe in a college or high school to see where they want to go. What sports are they really most into right now?
Well, I'll start with my oldest. My oldest, Abby, is in middle school. She's in 6th grade. She ran cross country this year for the team.
Awesome.
And she's preparing to run the track season come spring. Real proud of her. She doesn't play softball anymore. She played it for a couple seasons, but she started out in cross country at a certain time, and she shaved off so many minutes off by the last meet. So she really took to it. I'm extremely proud of how she, just continued to excel every meet. Let's see, and then we've got Lenny. So Abby's 12, Lenny's 10. He'll be playing Little League this year. He throws righty, he bats lefty, and he likes to pitch. He likes to play all the positions.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's me.
He's a good baseball player. I keep telling him he has to go out there and practice more than everybody else to continue because he's got a lot of natural ability. But he needs to get out there and practice because that natural ability will only take you so far, right? So
get those reps in, kid.
We're going to continue to practice. And then my next is Audrey, who's 8, who right now is really into dance and cheerleading.
Good stuff.
Nice. She's nice.
That's awesome.
I'm proud of her because she was the flyer the other day during her cheerleading practice, and she was real proud of that because everybody wants to be the flyer, I guess, right?
Everybody wants to be the flyer. I was always way too tall to fly, so yeah, no.
So yeah, she's doing that. My youngest, Max, will be 6 in April, and he played t-ball last year. And he'll be playing Little League this year too. And again, they all bat lefty. They all throw righty. I thought Max was going to be a lefty thrower too, but he ended up switching on me after I bought him the left-handed glove. But
yeah, I bat left just because I don't even. I mean, my dad does.
Yeah.
But he also throws right. So I learned I can bat right and left, but I'll choose left a lot more than right.
Okay, nice.
It's just one of those weird things.
Yeah.
But if I had to throw something, I'm throwing it right-handed. But I bat left because that's how I'm sure it's because how my dad taught me.
Sure,
because that's how he batted. So of course he's going to teach me that way. But
so I'm a lefty, but I play guitar right-handed because my older brother, my dad played guitar right-handed. So there was right-handed guitars in the house, and that's kind of what we picked up. But is your second part of that second question is, do they have the ability to go far or professional? I have no idea.
Because you know what? It's too soon.
Let's just have fun.
When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I was probably the worst player on my team. I mean, I was really bad. It wasn't one of those guys where, this guy's going to be a big leaguer at 9 years old. It was not evident for quite some time that I was going to go far in the game of baseball. I was left-handed, and probably around 11 or 12, I started to notice because I was practicing a ton with my dad, and I feel like that's when it started to turn a corner. And I got a good growth spurt between 8th and 9th grade. I went from like 5'9" to 6 foot, and I was really gangly. And I set goals, and I was fortunate enough to have players and coaches that helped me along that were older than me that kind of steered me in the right direction. But again, at this age, it's so hard to tell. And I feel like too often these days, parents of 9 and 10-year-olds are trying to get them scholarships at 9 or 10 years old, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I ask, because I know some insane stories. Even start at 7 and 8 sometimes.
Yeah,
it's crazy right now.
It really is. It really is. You want them to sign up for Little League or AAU, whatever it is every year. You want them to want to sign up. You want them to want to go practice. You want them to have fun. If it becomes a chore, if it becomes mom or dad want me to get a scholarship at 9 years old, that's not going to be fun for them. They're not going to want to play this game long term. As long as it's fun, they're going to want to continue to play. And when they continue to play, then they start to develop and get better. It's got to happen naturally. It can't happen via somebody else kind of pushing them too hard.
For sure.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's true.
Let
Lesley.
him have fun. Let him have
Yes,
fun.
exactly. Lesley, any final thoughts?
No, just thanks so much for joining
Appreciate
us
you,
tonight.
Lenny.
This was so much fun, and
My pleasure.
Thanks for indulging me when I asked you down in
Absolutely.
Florida.
Absolutely. My
"Daddy,
pleasure.
before you go, yeah, super fun. Super
Absolutely.
fun. And
My
I'll
pleasure.
see you next year, if not this summer when I'm up there for 900
For
games.
sure.
So.
Yeah, come knock on the glass. If I'm working, come knock on the glass, come wave. I'll come out and say hi.
Okay, will do. Will do.
All right.
Lenny, anything you want to promote or anything you want to say? Final thoughts?
Well, look for me on
Hold
Nesson
on.
this year. I'm looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward to a good quality season, and we'll see you at Fenway Park. And also, I do real estate. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, if you're a Rhode Islander, come see
There
me
you
if
go.
you're looking to sell your house. My wife and I are both realtors for Edge Realty, and that's my off-season gig. So,
And
hello.
There you
not
go.
just Rhodey, right? You're in Mass as well, correct?
Well, my company does do Massachusetts as well, but I
Oh,
have a
nice.
Rhode Island license.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you
Just want to
go.
make sure we get it all in there. We're doing
Absolutely.
that, so.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Look me up.
Oh, awesome. I will, if I'm going to buy a house in Rhode Island, I will definitely look you up there.
Perfect.
Cheaper than Boston. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yes, I have heard
Yeah.
that.
I have a deal
have
where
heard
if we
that.
close, I bring the World Series rings to the closing. That way you'll.
Yes.
I mean, there is nothing.
Great
I've
tactic.
worn
Seriously,
a
great
couple
tactic.
now, and there's nothing better than putting on that 04 ring.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. Just for those wondering, it's the best thing ever. So yeah, good stuff.
There you go,
Perfect.
guys. All right, great episode 10. We're special guest Lenny DiNardo. Also, please follow us on all social media platforms. Dirty Water Dispatch, BSZ. Follow me and Lesley, Italy Jet, Lesley Nicole 617 on Twitter. Thank you so much. Peace. Episode 10, Lenny DiNardo.